The screens over the windows were made of a blue-green mesh. The bird of passage rests on the waves, then abandons himself to their movements full of proud grace, until the bones of his wings have recovered their accustomed strength and he can continue his aerial pilgrimage. It is to believe in God, to think of Lautréamont, that he might have been the first to deposit a time bomb in the human mind, and it is timorous to wish to limit his destructive power, to isolate him so strangely. The birds shrieked their anti-songs and beat their wings against the mesh. They add that day and night, without relief or rest, horrible nightmares make him bleed from his mouth and his ears. That spectres sit at his bed's head and, impelled in spite of themselves by an unknown force, implacably persistent, in voices one moment gentle, another like the roars of battle, yell in his face this name, still tenacious, still hideous, which will only perish with the universe. In these new conceptions of history and of literature, it would be believed that man is not at the centre of things. The perspective of Genesis ordering then yields to an exploration of the depths, and man is not the privileged subject of his knowledge, he gradually becomes its object. The rooms of the hospital were full of strange machines packed against the walls, reaching to the ceiling. The crocodile will not change a word of the vomitings from beneath his skull. So much the worse if some lurking shade, excited by the praiseworthy object of avenging mankind whom I have so unjustly attacked, stealthily opens the door of my rooms and, brushing against the wall like a seagull's wing, buries a dagger in the side of the plunderer of heavenly wrecks. The atoms of clay may just as well be dispersed in this way as any other. The language of the Furies in and of themselves, unmediated by Hermes or Iris, is not a common one. Even Lautréamont has to imagine a commander's voice when what he is really describing with his starlings is a flocking algorithm, a kind of distributed protocol for a network of communicating bodies, each following simple procedures, but which in the aggregate produces a complex, heterogeneous totality. The floor of the hospital was made of sand, and the walls were a uniform tan colour. The windows had no glass in them, and the sky was a cancerous blue. Not finding what I was seeking, I lifted my eyes higher and higher still, until I saw a throne made of human excrement and gold, on which was sitting, with idiotic pride, his body draped in a shroud of unwashed hospital linen, he who calls himself the Creator. He was holding in his hand the rotten body of a dead man, carrying it in turn from his eyes to his nose and from his nose to his mouth, and once it reached his mouth, one can guess what he did with it. Closer examination reveals that animals were more often thought of as being part of what might be termed a counter-nature, a negativity that menaced the order of things and constantly threatened the wisdom of nature with its wild frenzy. The work of the French poet Lautréamont is proof of that. When I told you the birds were shrieking, their wings breaking, their feathers full of blood, you said it was the old woman outside the hospital walls singing. Certain occultists assign birds and fish to a class different from those to which other animals belong. The road opens in the two chairs of the consulting room with a therapist. It opens as well in a single chair, alone with a book.